Welcome to Beating Cancer Daily. Beating stage 4 cancer for 30 years still takes my breath away every time I say it. I'm Saranne, founder of the Comedy Cures Foundation, and I hope you'll join me for just a few minutes daily for the next 365 days so we may laugh, learn, maybe cry a little as we live our best days beating cancer daily together. I love the days when our functional medicine expert, Jacqui Bryan, comes on to Beating Cancer Daily because I get to laugh with a friend, but it's so meaningful to me. I'm going to give you some real time. I had a pest control person come to the house, and he just shared with me that his mom's going through cancer treatment. And literally before we started anything for my annual checkup of my house, we talked about his mom, and I got to tell him all about Beating Cancer Daily and my recurring guest, Jacqui Bryan. And this grown man was just so touched that this could help his mom, who is on active treatment right now, that it started my day in such an intimate, personal way. You don't think you're going to get really buddy-buddy with your pest control guy, right? And it just shows how the over 420 episodes of Beating Cancer Daily are just impacting the lives of people all over the world. So it just puts me in such a moment of gratitude just to thank you for listening. But Jacqui, thank you for coming back. Your just pedigree, what you have done in the world in healthcare, from being a certified nutrition specialist, RN, whole health educator, certified health coach, and as I said at the beginning, functional medicine expert, and you come back and share this for over 120 episodes with us, and the people listening all over the world. I'm just so grateful, but I just got to be with somebody real time this morning in person who literally put the podcast on their phone and was texting their mom to start listening right away. It just brought tears to my eyes. So thank you for contributing so much great information to us.
Oh, Saranne, it's such an honor and privilege to be here with you. Not only do I enjoy our time together, but it's so wonderful to be able to support individuals and people that love individuals that are going through cancer treatment. I mean, you and I know firsthand how challenging that is, being diagnosed at the young ages that we were diagnosed. I was 37 and you were 32, misdiagnosed.
I was misdiagnosed in my 20s and didn't get
Yeah.
diagnosed until 35. But what I love too is that this man doesn't have cancer, thank God, but he's so excited to go listen to all your episodes because he wants to stay well. But he actually confessed to me, I'm going to listen to all of them because I need to reduce my stress and I want to help my mom too. And I don't know, it just put me in such a personal place. And then we got on to record and we started laughing about all the intimate things
Oh,
that we have shared on this podcast that you're listening, but you know way too much about Jacqui and me at this point. Jacqui was talking about everything from intimacy issues to spouses to our
I know my husband always says to me, he goes, "You said what on the podcast?" And sometimes, Saranne, it really just feels like you and I just right here talking. And it's not that I forget about the audience or the listeners, but it's such a raw, real, genuine conversation about an important health topic. So it's real and we feel it. And it's really special to be here.
We get up every day not only trying to help people, but we are literally beating cancer every day ourselves. I mean, everybody's trying to beat cancer every day. You want your immune system working at the highest level so that it can just come in and sweep through and take out those cancer cells and nothing gets momentum. So we're still beating cancer daily every day. That's why I named it that, because I was like, it just wasn't decades ago. That's when the doctors didn't see it anymore on a scan, which is a miracle because I was misdiagnosed for so many years and then considered stage 4 and then told to get my affairs in order. And we're still here yapping away decades later. So
Yeah, it's a passion. It's a passion project for sure. And one of the things I think about before we get on every single podcast is I think about the fact that when you and I share our vulnerable moments, that those moments are things that can actually help people, right? Because a lot of the things we talk about, people don't talk about. They don't think about. And we're just getting the conversation started. And again, it's just such a privilege to be here with you and with our listeners.
that is so true. I've tried to think about all the things that I do on a daily basis and have done for decades, and the things that I did before that I think set me up not to have the best immune system. And we really do try to focus on these moments between the raindrops, I call them. And these are the moments that people really don't talk about. And sometimes they're wackadoodle. Like you will look back at the episodes and be like, she's talking about what? But there is a method to the madness here. And I hope that people go back and really listen to the hundreds of episodes. I know it's overwhelming, but think how I feel. I've been talking for over 420 episodes. So it's actually just like at this point, it's just like a family member. The podcast is like a family member at dinner. So I know today that we're going to talk about a topic near and dear to your heart.
It is so dear to me, so important to me, but also it has such an incredible medicinal benefit for our bodies. It's actually looking at how we prepare or eat vegetables. And what I want to talk about today is raw versus cooked. And it is a frequent question that I get from individuals. Should I be eating raw foods? Because that's really what we think of. We've got to eat it raw because that's where I'm going to get the most nutrition from those really wonderful fruits and vegetables. When in fact, it might be surprising, and maybe this is the big twist that we put on this is like the plot thickens, right? With
Vegetable twist. I've never
the
heard that
vegetable twist
before.
is that there are some foods that are better eaten cooked. And we're going to go through the different types of foods, but we're also going to talk about the nutrients, specifically things like vitamin C, vitamin A, and what is the best way to get those nutrients in. Because as we've talked about in the many podcasts we've done, is your immune system is made up of these nutrients. And we know that nutrition is one of the most beneficial things we can do for our body with or without cancer. And it is something that can support our immune function and help improve our quality of life by reducing the risk of many chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all of the above.
I have to tell you, I got into a pickle in Costa Rica because I ate raw vegetables and it wrecked me. I got so sick, and everybody thinks about when you're in Mexico, maybe you don't want to drink the water or not have raw vegetables. But supposedly the water was filtered, and I didn't think about it when I left the resort and went and had a meal, and it wrecked me. So when you said that you wanted to look at raw versus cooked, I was like, wow, I wish I had heard this episode before I went to Costa Rica, because I probably would have been a little more vigilant about what I was consuming, how I was consuming vegetables. So I think this is important because I would assume that digesting raw vegetables is a lot more taxing on the system than, say, a vegetable that was steamed. Is that true?
It's a little bit easier for digestion, but what you're talking about more with the food poisoning that you got when you were in Costa Rica, and I'm so sorry that happened to you, is more about the fact that when it's a raw food, that sometimes the toxins can't be removed without cooking or without heating. And especially individuals that are in treatment or are immunocompromised, that's a really important thing to think about. Maybe they have received a recommendation by their provider that, hey, you don't do anything raw. A lot of patients do when they're in chemotherapy. I have a couple clients right now that are receiving chemotherapy for different types of cancers, and they are basically educated that they do not have any raw fruits or vegetables for the exact reason that you were just talking about.
Well, I did that first, and I've been very honest about it. I went completely raw when I was diagnosed. I went macrobiotic, and I didn't see any change in my cancer. It didn't have an impact on me, so I just abandoned that diet pretty quickly.
Yeah. There are pros and cons to each. I mean, when we are eating foods that are raw, it does preserve their nutrients. There are some vitamins and minerals that will degrade with heat, but it's also true that some others become more bioavailable, meaning more available for you to absorb. And so what we're going to be talking about today is a bit of a nutrient comparison for particular nutrients and foods and whether we should be consuming them as a raw or cooked vegetable. And so, for example, if we think about vitamin C, right? So, vitamin C that we find in things like peppers, we can also find them in tomatoes. If you cook vegetables like tomatoes and things like that, is actually going to lower the vitamin C, right? So raw vegetables have higher levels of vitamin C. However, if we compare that to cooking a tomato, while the vitamin C might actually go down by like 30%, we actually have an increase in lycopene in the tomato by cooking it. And so this is where it becomes confusing for individuals. They're like, well, wait a minute, do I cook it or do I eat it raw? And it really depends on what your goal is. The cool thing to think about when you are cooking a food is that the heat actually breaks down the walls of the vegetables. So in the tomato's case, it breaks down the wall of the tomato and it actually makes the lycopene, which is that wonderful nutrient that's got anti-cancer benefits, it's got heart prevention of heart disease benefits, so many wonderful things. It breaks down the walls and it makes that lycopene more available for you, which I think is absolutely amazing.
I think this is amazing. I am always stunned when you share the brilliance of nature.
Well, it is brilliant. I mean, again, I think it's the vegetable twist title. Like, what would be, because you still have me on some of the names you've come up with, like dropping amino acids. That still kills me, that episode. The name.
That is your all-time favorite because you bring that up as many times as you bring up pumpkin seeds. So I
I
know
know.
that I scored. But I was gonna say, I don't have any vegetable jokes yet because I use them all on all the different episodes that we've done so far. But I'll let us know when I do.
I get it.
Oh, look, Jackie got a joke.
I
This
know.
is a moment. This is a
Jackie
moment.
doesn't always get jokes, but Jackie got that joke. Let us continue, Saran.
Oh, look at you doing a callback. I'm
I
so
know.
proud
See,
of you.
I am learning from the best. What about vitamin A? Right. So, what's really interesting, like foods like carrots or spinach or sweet potatoes, those actually have in them beta carotene, right? All of us have heard of beta carotene. Beta carotene, basically, when we eat it, it converts into vitamin A, which is wonderful for enhancing our vision. It helps with antioxidants. It's great for immune health, skin health. And one of the things that is really interesting is that when carrots are cooked, it increases their antioxidant power, right? Now, again, just remember, we're not talking charred or burned, right? That's where things go downhill, right? It loses charred and burns, loses all of the nutrients. But
But
when we
there is
cook,
something very yummy about
it is, I
charred
know,
Brussels sprouts or
I
charred
know.
corn. It
Yes,
is good. I don't do it all the time because I know it's not good for us, but once in a while, a
I
little
know.
chard is so good.
I'm, like, loving the roasted Brussels sprouts when they're a little brown. Sometimes I live on the edge, right? I mean, I think it's probably better than a piece of cake or something, but who knows?
But there's
But
that great episode we did on Brussels sprouts. So if you are feeling Brussels sprouts right now, go back and listen to the most hated vegetable.
I think it's such a great episode. When we're thinking about vitamin A or beta carotene for that matter, raw vegetables are going to be less available. So when you think about just munching on that carrot, the crunchiness and everything, as wonderful as it is, it's probably going to be more available, meaning that beta carotene or vitamin A is going to be more available in cooked things like carrots, spinach, sweet potatoes. And again, these are super important when it comes to immune health. So I really like to be able to focus in on that. So far, we've learned that if we want higher vitamin C, raw is better than cooked. If we want higher beta carotene or vitamin A as it converts in our body, cooked is going to be higher than raw. For lycopene, which we find in things like tomatoes, when we eat raw tomatoes, it's going to be lower in lycopene and higher in the cooked vegetables. But what happens to the vitamin C when we cook tomatoes? It actually goes down, right? So we're going to kind of recap as we go along.
Jack, I have to let you know that I crunch on carrots instead of potato chips because I like to crunch when I drive. And I'm so sad now that if I steam them, that I'd get more benefit. Because I thought as I was crunching away, like I was just getting all this benefit. And there was this really cute meme online with two sides of a yard, fruits on one side, vegetables on another, and then this tomato enters the yard and it just says, Bob was never quite sure where he fit in. And I thought that was so funny.
Poor Bob.
Yeah, because I think a tomato's fruit, right? It's considered a fruit, not a
They have it
vegetable.
in the vegetable category here, but yes, it's also considered a fruit because of the seeds that are in it. So it gets a
Look
little,
at that plot twist with a
I
tomato.
know.
One eye.
Let's talk about iron for a second. People that are dealing with anemia, or even if you're in chemotherapy treatment and your iron levels actually go low, which mine did, we know that in raw vegetables that iron is actually not as bioavailable. So if you're consuming things like spinach or kale, iron is more easily absorbed when it is cooked. And the other plot thickening thought for us to think about is that when you cook spinach or kale, it releases oxalates, which are things we're going to be talking about in our anti-nutrient episode coming up soon. But we know that oxalates are things that can inhibit the absorption of minerals like calcium and iron and things like that. So we want to be able to cook those lightly to be able to release the nutrients so that we can absorb them better. I mean, one of the sayings that I like is you are what you eat. But the saying that I love is you are what you can absorb. And so when we think about the nutrition that we're trying to get into our body, these wonderful, bright, colorful foods, we keep thinking, oh, we're doing these great things for our body. However, if we are not able to absorb them, we're just going to pee and poop them out. We're not going to get all the wonderful benefits that we're hoping to get. So this is why it's really important to understand what are the best ways that we can prepare these foods to get the biggest bang for our nutritional buck.
Which is an amazing episode about poop. So if you just want to see what you're pooping out, listen to the poop episode that Jacqui did. Jacqui, that is so interesting. So, for example, having a raw spinach salad might not be as helpful for your absorption as if you had just steamed the spinach a little bit. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes. However, it is an excellent choice, right? So these are some like vegetable hacks that we're sort of covering today. Maybe that's another name. The vegetable twist, the vegetable hack. I don't know.
I love that you're coming up with titles because after naming hundreds of episodes, it's really fun to have another brain trying to think about how to be original. So thank you so much for that. And what it brought to mind was a funny cartoon that I saw once where it had a whole bunch of vegetables and they looked angry and the caption was steamed vegetables.
Love that.
It was such a great visual. Just thinking about the spinach just being happy and raw, and then watching that spinach be angry with that persona of anger after it was lightly steamed. I don't know. I think funny thoughts, Jacqui, you can't stop me.
You do, and I'm not trying to stop you, no way. One of the reasons that we eat the vegetables that we do, I mean, we think about the antioxidant benefits, and as a refresher from some of our other episodes where we've talked about it, antioxidants neutralize free radicals, and those free radicals are the things that can lead to disease. And one of the things I found really interesting is raw versus cooked with some of these vegetables. I mean, antioxidants is kind of a broad statement. I mean, all the fruits and vegetables have different antioxidant levels that will offer medicinal benefits to the body. And actually, raw vegetables, it really varies depending upon the particular vegetables. So, if we give an example of something like mushrooms, so mushrooms actually increase their potassium, their niacin, their zinc content by cooking, right? And it enhances the bioavailability of antioxidants. In addition to releasing all those wonderful vitamins, if we were to eat the mushrooms raw, we run into the problems we were just talking about earlier, Saranne, which was the toxins, right? So many of the mushrooms are grown in dung or some other things. If we're not washing and cleaning them really properly, we are running a risk of toxins or other bacteria or pathogens, things like that, that could get into our body and wreak havoc with our body. So I always cook mushrooms. I don't eat mushrooms raw because of the way that they're grown. But when it comes to asparagus, asparagus is a vegetable that when it's cooked, it releases vitamin A, B vitamins, C, E, and it becomes more bioavailable. And the reason for that is just what we talked about with the tomatoes. The walls of the plant that asparagus break down and it makes nutrients more available, right? It has more availability of antioxidants. There is a softening of the fibers, so it's more chewy. I mean, I've never really gnawed on a piece of raw asparagus. So again, it's something for us to kind of think about, but just keeping in mind that things like mushrooms and asparagus are probably going to bring more benefit to you with antioxidant levels by cooking them than they are by eating them raw.
I can't help myself because there's a vegetable joke about asparagus, I have to say. What kind of vegetable do you need when you have a flat tire?
I have no idea. What do I need when I have a flat tire?
A spare, I guess.
Oh,
Like, a
very
spare, I guess? So,
yes. That is so
look,
funny.
I think I've told probably over 100 vegetable jokes on this podcast. I love a bad pun and a bad joke, so just
Oh, that's so cute.
listen to
That is so
Jacqui
cute.
right now.
Yeah, but you lighten things up. I mean, sometimes we talk about such challenging topics sometimes. Not that vegetables are challenging, but cancer's scary, right? And cancer really hijacks your life. And you actually bring the humor back into it so that we can relax a little bit. I mean, not that it's easy to relax around the cancer topic, but I find it so refreshing. I so wish I found you 22 years ago when I was diagnosed. I think we would have had a lot of fun.
Thanks, Jack. You know what it is? That people might not remember everything that we say in these episodes because there is so much information. But what I'm being told is that when I do a silly joke, they'll remember that there was a joke about asparagus, right? Or a joke about steamed vegetables. And that will trigger to them, hey, maybe I should steam my vegetables, or hey, the walls break down in the asparagus. But it's the fact that they got a minute to just laugh in the middle that it opened up more oxygen in their brain to retain more information. I mean, the science is there, but I just love it. I think funny thoughts morning, noon, and night. I don't know how I get through the day without just laughing at everyone because I'm receiving all this information all day long. And in my head, I'm just converting it into funny thoughts. And I do retain it because it's associated with so much joy and laughter and humor. And I love to see you smile and I love when you get a joke. So part of this is just being able to connect with you because when we started, you were so terrified when I said a joke because you were so concerned you wouldn't get it. And now you're writing jokes and you're saying callbacks, and I'm so
Well,
happy.
I was the kid that used to fake laugh. Not that I mean, I laughed at a lot of things in my life, but people would tell a joke and I would laugh because everyone else was laughing, but I didn't always get the joke. So I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm starting to get these jokes every time you say that.
That's an important point, Jacqui. At Comedy Cures, we teach you laugh anyway because your body gets the benefits of that internal jogging. Your mind, body, and spirit get that moment to just laugh and release. And it's okay. It probably helped with the stress of the fact that you weren't getting the joke.
It does. I mean, I think flooding your body with all those wonderful chemicals are healing. And it also, like, the one thing I like to think about is when you're laughing, it seems that's the only feeling that you can focus on at that moment. And it just takes away fear of the cancer. It takes away just for a moment, right? It gives you the chance to be free. And I love that. I love that about humor. One of one of the things that I wanted to just do a highlight on was just a couple other vegetables before we move into why it makes a difference for digestion and absorption. And I like cauliflower. Do you like cauliflower?
I love it. I
Yeah,
really
I
love
mean,
it.
I cook cauliflower. My husband was telling me the other night that he eats cauliflower raw, and I don't love it raw, but when you do cook it, it increases the availability of some of the compounds that have anti-cancer properties, right? Those cruciferous vegetables. And steaming it is one of the best methods to use for cauliflower because it will hold on to some of the vitamin C. We talked about cooking can actually lower some of the vitamin C. So again, it depends on what your goals are. You know, if you're eating things like zucchini, many of the foods that we've talked about have a lot of nutritional benefits raw, but when you cook zucchini, it actually gives you more of those carotenoid antioxidants, which can help protect against cell damage. So, cooking the zucchini, you can even do a mix of it. It doesn't mean that the raw has no benefit. I mean, you asked me earlier about cabbage, right? Cabbage is a vegetable that contains goitrogens, which are problematic for those people that have thyroid issues, and that's an anti-nutrient, and we're gonna talk about that in another episode. But if you cook cabbage, it actually gets rid of the goitrogens, and at the same time, it makes all the nutrients that are in it more available for you. So it's really good for antioxidants as well.
That's really important for me because I've been very open about the fact that I have had thyroid issues. So I'm going to really think about that because I love cabbage. So I eat it every which way. But now I'm going to focus more on cooking it. I have a cabbage joke. Why did the cabbage win the race, Jacqui?
I don't know, why did the cabbage win the race?
Because it was ahead.
Oh, that is so cute.
It's so you're just setting me up for every vegetable joke possible.
Well, let us continue.
That's the third time.
It's the only joke I've got for today. So you're gonna hear, "Let us move on. Let us continue." That's about all I've got today. What about onions? Onions are really, I think, delicious. I love them raw and I love them cooked, but when you do cook onions, they actually boost their flavonoid content, and that is a antioxidant, which is really great for reducing inflammation, good for immune support. We also hear a lot about garlic. I Garlic doesn't agree with me. I don't know about you. It's something I have a little bit my stomach just doesn't love garlic, and I wish it did because garlic is amazing. When you cook it, it has allicin in it, which is a compound that is antibacterial for the gut, antiviral, antifungal, and heating the garlic is also beneficial for the heart benefits as well.
I can do a little cooked garlic. Raw garlic kills me. There was a point where I couldn't do garlic at all. It would actually put me in the hospital. That's how sick I got. And
Wow.
now I can tolerate it cooked, but raw, forget about it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
It's funny because my husband and I'll be at a restaurant, and sometimes I'll have something that has a little essence of garlic. I'm always like, "Go easy on the garlic." It just doesn't always agree with me. But my husband and I always look at each other, we're like, "Are you having garlic? Are you having garlic?" Because you don't want one to have the garlic. If you're on a romantic date, you both either have to have garlic or you both have to have no garlic
And the
because if
same thing with raw onions or onions. You either
yeah.
both have to have it, but someone taught me a trick that if you put the raw onion in sumac, it
Oh,
takes away that onion breath.
oh, interesting. So you could get your smooching on later on and not feel like you're fumigating the person.
Yeah, you could try it unless you're allergic to sumac, but it's not
Yeah.
the kind that makes you scratch like poison ivy, like, you don't put it on and then you get it. For some reason, I don't know why a sumac plant you're allergic to, but you could put sumac if you're not allergic to it on the onion and it takes away. Because that was the first thing I said when she
Poison
said
sumac?
it was like, "Are you sure we could do this?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm from Georgia, the country, and I we do it all the time, so we don't smell
That's
like
so
onion."
interesting.
Isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
Yes, that is so interesting. One of the things I thought was fascinating about this topic was, like, I like celery with pecan butter on it. It's, like, one of my favorite snacks, and I know also people that eat celery with hummus, but what I thought was interesting is that if you cook celery, it can actually enhance the levels of antioxidants, which are also the ones that are anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer. I just never think of cooking celery unless it's like in a soup or with like a if I'm making turkey for Thanksgiving, something like that. But we know that there are some enhancements that can happen from that as well.
I am so allergic to celery. It's
Oh, you
crazy.
are?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
always have
love
to pick it
celery.
out of, like, tuna fish or people put it in stuff. I'm, like, picking it out. Yeah, can't who
Wait,
It's a
when it's
weird thing
raw,
to be allergic to.
that is a weird thing. When it's raw, I feel like you spend more energy chewing it than you do, like, what you would get from the actual food, right? So, I think it's really interesting. So let's put a neat bow around the things that we talked about with the raw versus cooked. There are pros and cons to both. And just because we're talking about some of these foods being more nutrient rich when you cook them, it doesn't mean that the raw ones are bad. So please do not stop eating raw vegetables unless you've been advised by your medical provider. But just keep in mind that when you cook them, it actually softens some of the tough fibers and it can make the vegetables easier to chew and digest, especially if you've got a sensitive stomach. Somebody that just feels like they can't eat anything raw, just know that you're going to get some of the nutrient benefits by cooking them. Right. And if we're worried about getting in more beta carotene or lycopene, we now know that they're better absorbed when they're cooked in those vegetables, which again, super exciting.
Thanks, Jackie. This is really helpful. It's gonna dramatically change the way that I eat. In one episode, I'm gonna just start adopting what you're saying. I mean, why wouldn't I want to get the most out of the foods that I'm paying for and then consuming?
Right. So that we can absorb them. But, what's the best way to cook them? That's the big question, right? Like those are the things that we know that the raw vegetables are going to give us more enzymes, maybe more water soluble vitamins like vitamin C. But the big question I get is what's the worst way to cook them? It would be boiling. Right. So you put them in a bunch of water and you boil them. That's going to leach all the vitamins, the nutrients into the water. Now, if you decide to do that, make a soup with the water, right? So you're going to preserve the nutrients that went in there. I actually really enjoy roasting because roasting brings out the flavor without too much nutrient loss, keeping the temperature moderate, not too high. That's really key. Again, we don't want to char things. Steaming is good, and steaming is one of the best options for holding on to the vitamin C and folate, which is a B vitamin, very important. Sautéing, sauté a lot, but a small amount of healthy oil, like an olive oil at a lower heat, will help your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins. And fat-soluble vitamins actually need a little bit of fat to help you absorb them. And those are things like A, D, E, and K, those vitamins. And we think about vitamin D a lot when it comes to bone density. And the last one that I get questions about a lot is microwaving, right? So many people are afraid to microwave. If you are somebody that microwaves, I microwave. I don't microwave a ton, but I use the microwave. Short cooking times in the microwave can actually reduce nutrient loss, but please don't put vegetables in plastic bags and microwave them. That's just asking for problems doing that for sure.
We're going to do an episode on plastics because it is just alarming how much plastic they're finding, not only in the fish, but in us, what we're testing for.
I
So
know it's
an
so
important
scary, Saran.
episode. But yeah, definitely do not. I know you don't even store your vegetables and fruits in the bags that they give you at the store.
No, I bring my own bags and I'm pretty careful about it. I've watched a lot of documentaries about it and just read a lot about it. And there's no way to get rid of our exposure to plastics. There's just no way. But I'm just trying to reduce my toxic load, right? To reduce the toxic burden. And these vegetables are so healthy, but if they're coming packed in plastics, again, it doesn't mean you're going to get rid of all the plastics, but I try really hard to store them after I cook them in like glass containers and things like that. Those were really
And
helpful.
we wanna try to get organic or fresh from the farm, but what are some of the ones that you definitely don't wanna eat? I think you call them, like, the dirty dozen?
Yes, if you go on the Environmental Working Group, it's really the industry watchdog for chemicals in our food and also products in our personal care products, the chemicals that they use in those. But the Environmental Working Group each year updates their dirty dozen, and that's the dozen vegetables and fruits that are heavily sprayed. And if they're heavily sprayed, then that means you're going to be consuming those, and that's not necessarily good for your body. So definitely check out that site. The frequent flyers on that list are things like spinach and strawberries, blueberries and apples, peaches, things like that. So it's important to double check to see if those are the ones that are going to benefit from going organic. But I think for us, when we're thinking raw versus cooked, and when you're making that decision, when do I eat raw versus cooked? I'll give you 3 points on each. So you want to eat raw when you want more vitamin C, if you need that crunchy texture that you're craving with your carrots, Saran, and quick prep time, right? So you just take it and just eat it. And then if you're going to cook the vegetables, that's going to be for softer texture, probably easier digestion and even absorption of nutrients like lycopene and beta carotene that we found in our carrots and tomatoes. And sometimes, I don't know, like I live in New Hampshire when it's really cold. I like warmer, right? A warmer dish sometimes has a little bit more flavor, especially if you're adding in some wonderful healing spices. But that's our kind of overview of raw versus cooked. And if you've got an idea of how you're going to try to use some of these tips, please let us know. Saran and I love to hear from you.
That's so true. You can go to comedycures.org and you can record a message under the podcast section, or you can go to the menu and write to us, or you can go to find the amazing Jacqui Bryan at jacquibryan.com. If you can't find her website, which is really beautiful, come back to comedycures.org and I will send you her signature. Jacqui, thank you so much. This was such a useful, practical episode. And I want to leave you with this little joke. There was an avocado, it was split in half, and half of the avocado, the male avocado, was chasing the female half of the avocado. And the male is screaming, I'm sorry, you're the good kind of fat. And it was
That is hysterical. I love that. That is so cute.
so I'll
Yeah,
never eat
avocado,
an
that's
avocado again the same way because I'll always see this guy with his foot in his mouth, basically just trying to repair the.
that's so cute. I love that. That is such a great way to end this episode. So fun. So fun.
So have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you loved today's episode, then tell the world. Why? Because Beating Cancer Daily is a listener and donor supported experience. So the more people you tell and the more people that join us, the more robust and interesting programs our nonprofit, the Comedy Cures Foundation, can bring to you throughout the year. So if you have some extra change, I'd love you to go to comedycures.org and make a donation today of whatever level is comfortable for you. And it will be tax deductible to the extent allowed by law, because Comedy Cures is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded from my chemo chair, April 1999, and we've been going strong ever since. So please consider making a donation today and help our community and this podcast thrive. Guess what time it is? It's time for me to read the disclaimer. Beating Cancer Daily and the membership circle are not in lieu of medical advice or treatment. They are for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your healthcare team to review your best strategy. Thanks for listening. See you guys tomorrow.